Welcome back to Montana this morning. The time now is 6:29. Joining us on Zoom this morning, we have Jennifer Smith. She is the Executive Director of Indian Education for Billings Public Schools. And I invited you on for a few reasons. One, it's Indigenous Peoples Day, and I wanted to find out what all is happening with Indian Education for All in the Billings Public Schools. So good morning, Jennifer, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, good morning. Thank you for inviting me to be here. We sure appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Go ahead.
No, yeah, you were going to jump right into it, and all for that. Yeah, let's talk about the importance of Indian education for all in our schools, and how does the public school district accomplish that?
Well, I need to point out today, which is pretty exciting thing, is that today is actually Indigenous Peoples Day. And there was a proclamation issued on Friday by our President of the United States, stating that today is National Indian Peoples Awareness Day, basically, which is a major step forward in minds of those of us who are indigenous, because that's recognition that really hasn't come from a federal level. So that's pretty exciting stuff. The way that sorts out on a local level is Billings Public Schools has an Indian education department. We have two components to that. We have some home to school coordinators that work in our middle and high school settings on location with our Native students, but we also have an entire part of our department that's focused specifically on Indian education for all. And we call that IFA. What that is that's actually a state mandate. That's been part of the Montana Constitution since 1972. And it states that basically it is the responsibility of every educator in the state of Montana to be infusing Indian education content into their curriculum, so that every one of our students, pre-K through 12, that passes through our doors are receiving content and curriculum specifically focused on Indian education for all. And that's for every student. That doesn't matter what your race is, your ethnicity. We want to make sure that our students are coming out of Billings Public Schools with an understanding and a background in not only our historical, but our contemporary and current Native people or Indigenous people here in Montana, and the understanding of what that looks like in terms of history and contemporary issues. I think a lot of people mistakenly assume sometimes that all Indigenous culture is gone or dead, or Indigenous people are no longer here, when in fact, in the state of Montana, Indigenous people make up 7% of the population. Mm-hmm. And interestingly, although we're urban and not a rural or reservation setting, Billings, Montana has the highest number of Native students in the entire state of any setting. Mm-hmm. So we have a responsibility then also to make sure that we're infusing that culture and curriculum, because as our Native students are in Montana integrating into a larger mainstream culture that is not majority Native, they're seeing themselves in our schools, their culture reflected, their presence, the welcome of the schools there for both our students and our families. And our job particularly also is a responsibility as well to our Native students to make sure that they're being seen and heard, what we like to call in the halls and on the walls, mm-hmm. Through the work that they're doing, through the work that the teachers are doing. One of the nice things about Indian education is we have two curriculum coaches that focus specifically on working just with our teachers on professional development around Indian education, developing lessons, modeling lessons. It's just a great way for us to support these teachers upholding that mandate as they're coming into our district and attempting to do that type of infusion.
Well, Jennifer, thank you so much. It sounds like you guys have it all figured out. You're helping out those Native American students, and especially for a child like mine, you say we're urban and it's important for her to learn about her culture. We do some at home, of course, but then also at school as well. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really do appreciate it, and you have a great rest of your day.
Well, thank you for offering us up this time. Have a wonderful day. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yes, thank you. We'll be right back after this.